From the headquarters of Telesur English in Quito, Ecuador, this is From the South. I'm Jose Daniel Lopez. Pope Francis has officially awarded sainthood to the late Salvadoran Archbishop Oscar Romero. The ceremony was witnessed by thousands in St. Peter's Square and many more via video. During El Salvador's brutal military dictatorship, Romero called for an end to human rights abuses. He was murdered 38 years ago by the death squad as he was giving mass in the city of San Salvador. Pope Francis reminded everyone of all the work Romero did for those less fortunate.
It's wonderful that among today's newly canonized saints, we have Archbishop Romero, who fought for people's well-being to the point of giving his life to protect the lives of those less fortunate. He always remained close to the poor and to his pilgrims.
Citizens from all over the world traveled to the Vatican to witness the historic event.
This was a unique experience. It's still hard to believe for us Salvadorians that our beloved Archbishop, who was murdered back in the 1980s, is now a saint. We never thought this day would come.
Archbishop Romero represents the fight for people's rights, the love for one's homeland, the call for justice. He was a man who gave everything without expecting anything in return.
Our correspondent in Vatican City, Edu Marin, has more details.
St. Peter's Square is almost empty now compared to the thousands of people that were present this morning for the canonization ceremony of Archbishop Oscar Romero and 6 other religious leaders. Followers had to wait 7 months to see Archbishop Romero be given sainthood by the Pope, who made the official announcement back in March. More than 7,000 Salvadorians came to the Vatican to be present in this religious ceremony. Some of them told us they were full of joy and happiness, especially when Pope Francis talked about Romero's fight for social justice and his achievements. This was a historic day for El Salvador and for the whole of Latin America.
And since Saturday afternoon, thousands of believers in El Salvador awaited Archbishop Romero's canonization. Late at night, many took part in a vigil leading up to the event. Emotions ran high when Pope Francis finally announced Romero as the church's newest saint. The streets of El Salvador exploded with sounds of jubilation at the announcement. And during a televised address, President Salvador Sánchez Serén commemorated Romero's struggle in defense of human rights.
Nearly 4 decades after he became a martyr, his message of love and justice resounds louder than ever. Archbishop Romero was one of the world's utmost defenders of human rights. He is the saint of the poor, of those who suffer through persecution and are ignored.
Moving on to Argentina, the 33rd Annual National Women's Summit started this weekend. Each year since 1986, thousands of women gather to promote reproductive health programs, legislation against gender violence, the elimination of all kinds of discrimination based on gender, and the right to have safe and free abortions. Our correspondent in Argentina, Sabrina Roth, has more.
More than 50,000 people have participated in the annual National Women's Summit in the province of Chubut. This province was chosen to hold the summit as the indigenous communities of the area have for decades been fighting for their rights. Many topics were discussed in the summit, such as the criminalization of the right to protest, as well as the disappearance and murder of social leaders like Santiago Maldonado and Rafael Noel. They commemorated the 130 women who were victims of femicide in 2018. They also rejected the austerity measures implemented by the government of Mauricio Macri, the economic agreements with the International Monetary Fund, and massive layoffs in public institutions. They demanded more public funds for the educational and health systems. The women present at the summit want the right to safe and free abortions. After a year of debating and protesting by women's movements, the Congress rejected the pro-abortion bill. A new law preventing violence against women is being sought.
We're being joined live by Nancy Medina, a lawyer and political scientist specialized in human rights. Hello, Nancy. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, it's a really pleasure for me to share this space.
This year, Argentina was marked by the defeat of a bill that will have decriminalized abortion. What's the next step in the battle for safe and free abortions?
Actually, the intent of the decriminalization of abortion this year in Argentina also allows to the feminist movement to grow. And I think the next step is already been taken because, for example, in this national meeting that is taking place right now, and the march just has passed right there where I'm at, we're talking about abortion, and the workshops that were developed in this encounter have in a large number talking about strategies how to abort this subject. So I think the next step in the battle for safe and free abortions are already take place, but putting the subject on the table and try to change this cultural view of this subject.
Now, Nancy, how are women's movements in Argentina going to drive political action and help shape policies? Can they achieve this?
Well, actually, women's movement in Argentina, if we talk about this national encounter, we can think about the first encounter that has taken place like 30 years ago and had the participation of 1,000 women. And now we are talking about the participation of more than 50,000 citizens. So we see that women's movement have a huge impact on society. And when you have that kind of, when the social movement have that kind of impact, of course, it influence on public policies and in the government agenda. That's why was one of the main reasons that this year was treated in the Chamber of Senate, the decriminalization of abortion, for example. So I think the women's movement in Argentina are a really rich movement, and that represents a lot of
I think we have some technical difficulties. We're going to take a short break. More news in a minute.
An occasion to enjoy the cultural diversity that defines our South American essence. Come along to find out the story behind these personalities, traditions, and artistic expressions that unite us as a whole. Real Lives, Friday, only on Telesur.
Acompañamos a los pueblos que resisten en cada una de sus luchas.
Somos esa ventana que se abre para visibilizarlos entre fronteras.
Thursdays, only on Telesur.
Welcome back. Over 2,000 Honduran citizens started to walk north on Saturday with the hopes of crossing into the United States. Messages spread through social media made a call for people to meet up and walk together towards what they hope is a better future. Many cite increasing violence and decreasing job opportunities as the reasons they decided to migrate. They plan to cross a total of 2,000 kilometers filled with dangers, both natural and human-made.
There are a lot of shortages here and a lot of crime. We cannot live here anymore.
Last year I went to apply for a visa and they didn't give it to me. They denied it. So now I will take advantage of this opportunity to see if I can do it.
The Workers' Party presidential candidate Fernando Haddad has accused his opponent in Brazil's presidential race of citing violence. Haddad said far-right candidate Jair Bolsonaro's proposal to ease gun laws will not solve the country's crime problem. Violent incidents linked to Bolsonaro supporters have been on the rise in various parts of Brazil. Earlier this week, a man was stabbed to death in a bar for reportedly yelling in support of the Workers' Party, and a transgender woman was badly beaten by Bolsonaro supporters on the street.
He always incited violence. He has a lifetime of inciting violence. This is a person whose hero was one of the biggest torturers on the continent. There is the person who's leading the opinion polls, but he will lose.
Argentine social leader Milagro Sala has been in detention for over 1,000 days. On Friday, social organizations protested in Buenos Aires to demand her release. Sala has said she laments her arrest and that authorities have used her case to do the same to others. In an exclusive interview, Telesur spoke with the Argentine social leader. Let's listen to some of what she had to say.
These people in power, Macri and his gang, the truth is that they are a gang of delinquents, a group of businessmen and their families that are getting rich at the expense of those who have less. It took them 2 years. In 2 years and 10 months, they have destroyed our country, they have put us in debt, they have backtracked advances in education and health. Everything has receded. It is astounding how they have hurt our country and how they have destroyed it. The country is no longer ruled by those who cast their vote. Great powers such as the International Monetary Fund and neoliberal interests are now in charge of our country. They want to take out the Argentine flag and they want to raise a colonizing flag.
Early on Sunday, the second flight to leave Buenos Aires, Argentina, with Venezuelan migrants landed in Caracas. This as part of the Venezuelan government's return to the homeland plan.
For Antonio, going back to his birthplace now seems realistic. He's one of many Venezuelans returning so he can be reunited with his family.
The main reason is that I miss my family so much, but I also miss my country after being here for a long time. For me, it is important to analyze Argentina's political and social situation. I am against the abuse and discrimination against not only Venezuelans, but also against other migrants.
This journey is taking a group of 86 Venezuelans back. All they want is to go home after failing to find work in Argentina.
I'm so thankful. Since last year I was looking forward to going home, but I couldn't. Now my dream is being fulfilled and I'm here to go back to my beautiful country.
I am really excited because I wanted to go back so long ago. Although I owe a lot to Argentina, my situation just got really difficult. I know that Venezuela needs us all to work for it, because it won't come through as a nation without us.
So far, priority has been given to Venezuelans with financial issues and desperately needed to go back to the Bolivarian Republic. Many of them lived on the streets.
Unlike last time, we see more young families. Most of them have little children from 2 to 7 years of age. The parents have professional backgrounds. Although there are some elderly who came to join their children, unfortunately, the children can't support them. There are families that live on the streets.
Sent by the Bolivarian government, the airplane took off from this Ezeiza International Airport, carrying 86 passengers back to where their heart is.
Public university students in Colombia are expecting Congress to approve the national budget. If it's not approved, they have threatened to start an indefinite strike. Students have said that they will stop going to class until more resources for public universities are guaranteed. They say that the government's proposal for this year's budget is unclear. They want new policies to benefit public institutions. An environmental court in Chile has ordered the closure of a Canadian gold mine in the Atacama region. The mine is located at the border with Argentina and had previously operated in both countries. But following the court order, Canadian mining company Barrick will only be able to work in Argentina. Environmentalists have called the decision a great victory. Jamaica's Prime Minister Andrew Holness has confirmed that his government, is achieving economic growth and sustainability. According to Holness, interest rates continue to decrease while employment is increasing. He added that by the end of the year, debt to gross domestic product will fall below 100%.
And the government is...
The 13th International Indigenous Film Festival in Guatemala is showcasing films that reflect the hopes and the struggles of communities.
Students from rural areas performed a song of their own writing during the award ceremony of the International Indigenous Film Festival.
This is about rewarding and acknowledging outstanding indigenous filmmakers throughout Latin America and the world.
We reward works that expose the people's realities, the genuine, real struggles from those communities.
The films awarded during the festival are being showcased all across Guatemala until October 16th.
This is the biggest platform of its kind in the continent, not only for films, but for other audiovisual products too.
Over 300 films were registered in the festival. They all have two things in common. They are hopeful for the future, but also show great concern over the damage done to planet Earth.
Among other things, we showcase how our communal economy works. Through audiovisual media, we can make the fight for our rights visible.
On a general level, there is great concern about Mother Earth and the growth of extractivist corporations.
Members from the Indigenous Latin American Film Coordination, or CLACPI, announced that the next edition of the festival will take place in Ecuador.
Reading enthusiasts from around the world are taking part in the 18th International Book Fair in Mexico's largest plaza. Let's find out more.
Shall we say the student movement of 1968 is the protagonist of this, the 18th edition of the International Book Fair in Mexico City. It's the second most important cultural event in the country, providing a much-needed space for new and renowned authors, publishers, and literary lovers.
Fairs with cheap books are very important. I think 95% of the population in Mexico cannot afford to buy high-priced books, so we need to promote reading in any way possible and make novels accessible to everyone. As you can see here, there are a lot of great discounts and book bargains.
From Europe, independent companies have brought big titles to small publishing houses interested in promoting their writers.
We want the most interesting publishers who are working on innovative projects but are unable to go to big fairs because they cannot afford to. So when they are part of a larger group, they are able to attend and make their work known.
Statistics reveal that half of Mexico's population has not read a single book in the past year.
I like to learn about the country, what kind of politicians we have, and what is currently happening. There are ignorant people that would rather play video games and show no interest in their country.
The festival runs until October 21st. It's a wonderful opportunity to find new books, all types of novels, even comic books, any kind of good reading material. The event is currently underway at the main public plaza, and there's just no substitute for a good old hardbound book.
Now we can use the internet because there are electronic books. But owning an actual book to touch it and feel it is very nice.
There are hundreds of book launches, concerts, cultural activities and debate forums about remarkable chapters in the country's history. Some of this year's participants include Lebanese writer Basna El-Husseini, Jose Maria Riprul from Spain, Francis Patrick Bard, Vandana Shiva from India, and Pakistani journalist Tariq Ali. So everyone is invited to dive right into the magical world of reading, which can transport you from right here in Mexico City to a whole new world.
We'll take a short break now. Join us again after this.
Our actions have an impact on the environment. It's our responsibility to change for the sake of our planet. Let's be part of this transition. Watch, preserve, and protect your Earth. Green Zone. Wednesdays, only on Telesur.
Telesur Documentaries presents an emblematic voyage.
Cuando llegó acá era Ernesto, que ahora es la Serra.
The journey when Ernesto became Che. Today, only on Telesur.
Welcome back. We move on to Zimbabwe, where the government recently arrested trade unions leaders for organizing a protest against economic hardships. Demonstrators were also protesting a new tax on electronic transactions. One of those arrested was Peter Mutasa, the president of the Zimbabwe Congress of Trade Unions. In an exclusive interview, we spoke with Peter Mutasa. Let's listen to what he has to say about the situation in Zimbabwe.
The fiscal policy is also adding a 2% for every transaction that you transact electronically in the banks and outside the bank in the shops. You are charged an additional 2% per every dollar. And everyone is complaining because that has had an effect of raising prices beyond the reach of the ordinary man in the street and the ordinary woman in the street.
Mutasa also dismissed allegations that his union was being used by the opposition movement for democratic change.
The government is not being sincere in its position that we are being used by the opposition, because this issue about the monetary policy and the fiscal policy has affected everyone around the country. Businesses are complaining, ordinary citizens are complaining, the people in the informal sector whom we don't organize are complaining. So this is a legitimate claim, a legitimate argument that we are raising.
Here's a look at other stories from around the world.
Education and shelter will be. The United Nations High Commission for Refugees is helping Syrians rebuild their lives by setting up bakeries. The idea is that by facilitating regular food supplies, people will want to return to their homes. And so the bakeries can churn out up to 9,000 bags of bread daily that can be sold. The agency is also giving skilled residents a small business grant so that they can start their own enterprises.
Project delegation came to our village and we signed up. And they knew that my condition is bad. They only gave donations to those who need it most. People now can work. The wheel of life is turning again. There is a big labor force working now, and without the help, we would not be working.
Before the crisis, we used to work in agriculture. When the terrorists came, we fled, and the money we had was all spent.
A Saudi-led coalition airstrike has killed 19 people and injured 30 others as they tried to flee Yemen's Hodeida port. Buses were hit and a number of women and children were among the victims. The port has been under attack from coalition forces who are trying to oust the Houthi fighters. The bombardment has led to one of the worst humanitarian disasters. Britain's foreign secretary has said the country would consider action against Saudi Arabia if its role in the disappearance of journalist Jamal Khashoggi is proven. Khashoggi is missing and is feared dead after he went into the Saudi consulate in Istanbul over a week ago. Jeremy Hunt has urged Saudi Arabia to comply with investigations, especially if, he says, they have nothing to hide.
We come to the end of this news brief. This and many other stories you can find on our website at telesurtv.net/English. And join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For Telesur English, I'm Jose Daniel Lopez. Thank you for watching.
We are present at every event where our nations are staring. We believe in a new global vision, united in every broadcasting.